We'll get started here. Meeting of May 31st, year 2022. We'll start with roll call.
Michael Murphy is out this evening. Kevin Scully.
Present.
Marcy Daniel.
Present.
Chip Postiglione.
Here.
Steve Thau.
Present.
And John Seeley is out. We have a quorum.
On to the Pledge of Allegiance. Just in case there's any emergency, just note where the fire escapes are behind you or out the hall. So just make note of that. I guess we'll get on with, continue the public hearing for Cirrus.
Just opening that tonight.
Opening?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
So the first thing you should do is, assuming all the postings and mailings have been submitted,
Yes.
entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a motion to open a public hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Marcy, your mic isn't working.
Check.
Ready? How you doing today?
Good, everyone. It's good to see everyone and on this evening, and we're happy to be here to continue with the process. As was mentioned,
Students here that have to take notes.
my name is David Nimatko. I'm an architect. We have an AE firm presenting this project before you for a area variance to increase the square footage and area of an accessory apartment that's allowed within the current zone. We are continuing with the process from last month, asking the board to consider this application based on the extenuating circumstances that were presented, and I believe received well by the board. We did provide documentation associated with the construction that was performed and then restored back to show the current owners that their apartment, the accessory apartment, would be more closer to 1,500 square feet rather than the 750 that's allowed by code. So the next step in the process is our public hearing, and so we're here to continue with that.
Receive had last month.
No. I don't remember, did we request more information? I thought it was just going to the public hearing. Because they had submitted pictures, they submitted the plans. They had submitted quite a bit of stuff with the first submission.
My notes do not reflect any further requests for information specifically. I think we were just scheduling for the public hearing tonight.
So if there's any member of the board that has any question, looking at the plans, then
Just refresh my memory on this, Dave. These stairs are currently inaccessible?
Currently in place.
They're currently in place.
So
Okay.
after the closing, we provided documentation to show that the Sauruses had looked over the property, looked over the house. In fact, we provided a video, unknown to them, that the stairs should not have been there or blocked off. The stairs were present and accessible. The second floor aspect of this apartment was in place with the bedroom and bathroom up there. So the guidelines that we had specified during the architectural plans were reversed. So after the C of O was issued, idea of
And you supplied those pictures either via Zillow, part of that package where we were able to see all of that when they were purchasing the property, just to give what they were looking at or what they thought they were purchasing.
Actually, we provided independent sources.
Right.
You had a home inspection report that was during this time frame, which indicated picture or showed pictures of stairs, of the bathrooms, of the bedroom. We also provided you a letter from the real estate agent. Then we, in so much as they actually took a video, not knowing the circumstances, but yet we provided that here. And actually, could go one step further, just to further the cause of the importance of the privacy needed with the apartment, with this additional square footage and a separate bedroom and bathroom. Some of the challenges that Mr. Soros is facing consists of the following: uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, chronic kidney disease, which is in stage 4 right now, coronary artery disease involving the coronary artery of the native heart without angina, and screening PSA, vitamin D deficiency, and need for hepatitis C screening. So all of these things, definitely require care, which the daughter, Emmy Marie, is willing to provide, and also the privacy and dignity needed to deal with these things. We did give thought to what David had brought up at the last meeting regarding how to condition an approval, which, if the board sees that, tying it to the person might not be the best avenue. So we would ask the board to maybe consider time constraints, maybe can make this approval conditioned for 5 years. I realize my words were that important, but maybe
They are.
maybe come in 5 years. Make it conditioned, make the approval conditioned for a 5-year basis. Allow them to come in, then they could make application at that time again, just to reinitiate the approval for whatever time frame is needed. Then maybe after that it would be the same amount or reduced amount, but I would consider it to be reasonable to do a 5-year term at this point of the process, if that's agreeable with the board.
So, you can't tie, as David said, you can't put a condition on that relates to the amount of time that a particular person is there. A variance doesn't run with the people, it runs with the land, and that's what you talked about last time and what David is referring to now. Whether you could grant a temporary variance that expires after a particular number of years. As I'm sitting here right now, I don't recall seeing the case law on that. Is that enforceable? Is it challengeable by a subsequent purchaser, for example? I don't know as I'm sitting here right now. Have you seen? Do you have anything to say on that, David? Obviously, I know you're, an architect/engineer, not a lawyer, but you've been doing this a long time.
Oh, I haven't. I have seen conditional approvals or approvals based on conditions with time constraints in other municipalities. I was hoping that a time constraint could be associated with this approval if the board did so. Also, the other condition to address that would be ownership. So you would approve this based on their being the owners, conditioned for 5 years, that they have to come back if there's any change in circumstance that would invalidate the approval. I'm sure that we can come up with a few conditions to the approval that would be satisfactory to the board and to the Sauruses.
You have any other than the 5-year limitation that you're suggesting, can you think of any other conditions that would, allay any concerns that the board might have in granting such a variance of this size?
Well, ownership, that the house doesn't change ownership. The current owners, which actually, one of the owners is the father, Jesus Soros, and Emmy Marie Soros and her husband, Luis Aviles. That would be another condition that could be associated with the approval. Another thing would be any change. The accessory apartment itself is subject to an annual review. The building inspector goes there once a year to make sure that all the conditions meet the approved plans and whatever conditions you do. So not only do you have a 5-year, which I'm asking for, you have an annual review without question. And I'm sure if the building department noticed any conditions that were contrary or contradicted your approval or the plans, he would make that known, and we would have to act on it. So you do have multi-layers of review and of constraints on this approval.
But Dave, is this all speculation with the 5 years? We'd have to actually see if that could be done. When we get to that point, if we're going to grant this, we're just speculating right now.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look and see whether that's enforceable. I mean, look, what you have, on the one hand, you have an advantage in that the applicant is agreeing to it, is suggesting it affirmatively. So the issue would not necessarily be in regard to this applicant. They've agreed to it, they've suggested it. They'd be hard pressed to, if you impose it as a condition, Article 78 it and say you can't do it. I think they'd be a stop from, pursuing that. The question is if it subsequent occupant says, I don't know. I mean, when would they do that? I mean, the decision would be, would they be limited in time for an Article 78? Are they on notice as a subsequent purchaser? Can they do that later? It gets a little tricky. So it's possible down the road that it could be knocked out. Right now, I'm saying it's possible because I haven't done the research on that.
Say knocked out, what exactly do you?
Somebody could attack the condition and say that condition's invalid.
Okay, that's where I want to.
Yeah. And same thing with I understand and appreciate the suggestion that to make it conditioned upon this owner owning the property, but I think that goes to the restriction on conditions that would say, look, you'd be attaching effectively the variance to the person instead of the land. So, which you can't do. So I don't think that one would be enforceable.
I think maybe we're just a little ahead of ourselves, right? Is this a good time to ask if there's anyone from the public that wants to speak on this? Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this subject? Any concerns? So, with that being said, if we were to move on with a motion to deny or not, can we look to delay to find out the answers to what it's nice that's being proposed.
Yeah.
And conditions, and it's nice to take that in consideration, but can you really put it into play?
Right, yeah, I mean, well, do any of the other board members have any questions or comments or thoughts on the application right now?
That's it.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Just to determine the legality behind that
Yeah.
potential 5-year timeframe.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously, there's a hardship with the individual, there's,
Right.
There are questions about whether, somebody looking at the code, at the time of purchase, probably could have put 2 and 2 together and said, wait, here's it's 1,400 square feet, is that allowed? Let me look at the prior variance. Is there any reason, maybe inquiry, but I understand that there's some circumstances there that, particularly with the marketing of it in that fashion.
Exactly. I mean, in the industry, we would realize that. There are those not in the industry that wouldn't be savvy to such a request or such a condition associated with the zoning code. They're being presented one thing and they're believing it. And they paid the price,
Right.
literally and figuratively, to get
Right.
that.
And that's all understood, and it's clear, and what you're saying makes sense. The plans and everything that's happened to these people is made sense, but bringing up that point of, putting a condition on it, and there's no one opposed, so we're at that point where, okay, you know what I'm trying to?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It seems like the board, if I'm taking the pulse right, is inclined to grant if such and impose that condition, if that condition is enforceable. Maybe, right?
Yeah.
That's something that they would consider if a condition like that could stay in place. So if that's the case, and what I might suggest is, look, keep the public hearing open for this meeting, plan on closing it next meeting and voting, and in, the ensuing 30 days, I'll take a look at it and see if I could, give you some definitive law on it to say yes or no. Or gray area, we don't know.
Yeah, well, but at least we gave it a shot, and if we find ourselves in the same situation next month, we gave it a shot, and we'll go ahead and vote. Is anyone on the board think differently than that, or how to proceed with that?
That sounds
I think
fair.
Fair?
That sounds like the correct way to go.
I agree on that. I think we want to be on firm ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll
do
do that.
and
I'm
I'm
making a note to
sure
myself
they
right
wanna be
now
on firm
to get
grounds.
that done.
Absolutely.
like-
I mean,
like-
you could see with the dire situation. I mean,
Yeah,
this
we
is-
want it,
no.
we want it to be
Also,
for everybody.
could we be a part of that discussion or process prior to the meeting? So if there were any suggestions that come up or thoughts, could it be shared with me and I could share with them, and we could have a thought prior to the meeting so we're prepared, or?
Yeah,
No.
Likewise, on
Come
your
on,
end,
after all these years, I get that kind
No,
of
If you've
response?
got a-
denied.
look, I'm open. You either have or can take my email address, and if you find something on the enforceability of, a condition or have any other ideas,
Yeah, or
I'm happy to have an
suggestions.
open line of communication with you, David.
Okay, we appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate the disposition of the board and their thoughtfulness in realizing the circumstances. So let's work through the legality of it and see what we can come up with. Another thought that comes to mind, David, is a deed restriction on the land. If that's something that
Right.
goes with the land, permanent, possible.
Yeah, that's something that if you're willing to do that, I guess the question is, if here's the legal snafu, is that the board imposes that as a condition that you must file a deed restriction saying that this shall take place for only 5 years, and then that condition is challenged and says, well, you can't require me to do a deed restriction. It's beyond your jurisdiction to do that. So that's the question: is can the board do that? But it's a good enforcement mechanism, certainly.
I mean, in the enforcement of it, question,
Right.
First, quite honestly, I'd rather have the board have jurisdiction and to determine the time constraints and the enforceability of the approval. If we go with a 2-year, 4-year, 5-year program requiring them to come in, and then present before the board, I think that everyone's coming from a place of good intentions and wanting to do what's best, and definitely.
I would just,
Uncovering
at this point, leave it where we're at, right? Because every suggestion you're making, we're still putting the cart before the horse, right? So everything that you're talking about could be in that open dialogue as we cross the first bridge. Can we put that 5-year stipulation and condition on it? And then, if that's a yay or nay, then we'll just go down that road of how else to make this work.
And ask for more than that.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.
You too.
That's it, Dave?
That's it?
You're at one today?
No, you have to sit in the back with the students. And
I get
I
to
have
learn
something to sign
something.
for him.
I got to tell you, I was surprised with
No.
Max.
Yeah,
I thought that
yeah.
letter of determination would be enough to be referred to the ZBA, because in the letter of determination, it says, we're referring you to the ZBA. So I did not realize that a whole building permit process would need to go into place to substitute or to supersede that. So, we're working through that.
No, I meant you only have one client today.
Yeah. Right.
On that note, I'll leave. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
So
Thank you very
let's
much.
do, what I'd like to do is start, for years it had been my advice that you don't need to, and I think it's still good advice, you don't need to make a motion to keep a public hearing open, but I've since seen some law that it's probably better practice to set it, to make a motion to adjourn it, to keep it open and set it down for the next date, so it's on the record what the next date is.
Next date?
So I think we should start doing that.
June
So
28th.
I'll make a motion then to continue the public hearing for the Service property for June 28th, you said? June 28th.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you again, David.
All right, next returning project, Joel Mann. How you doing tonight?
Okay, good evening, Joel Mann from Bracheman Associates. On behalf of the project on 105 Forest Avenue. So last month I gave basically a presentation on this project in general. I will just run over. It's a pre-existing non-conforming lot with a proposal to make a small addition that will increase with a very small amount the non-conforming part. So regardless, anything that we need to do on this lot, we need to come to before the zoning board. Based on the board's suggestion, we have reduced the lot coverage. Even the pre-existing addition was 29%. We reduced that to 26% with removing the shed. And I believe it was just like a concrete pad and make
If
that
I remember correctly, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but it wasn't an actual shed, it was just the
That-
foundation of a shed.
a
the slab.
foundation. That's what I
Gotcha.
was just about to
Okay.
correct it. Yeah, I believe just maybe a concrete slab or something, but converting that into green area. We have also provided the board with the detailed floor plans of this project and an updated, we have the sheet that lists the variance together with the percentages, along with the updated site plan that matches now all the numbers together, so everything is clear. And we have separated, I believe the left and the right yards was in one line. We did it into two lines, so now it's, instead of 7, it's 8 variances.
Yes.
With
And if
that-
I remember correctly, the way they were numbered, the variances, we were getting one was
Yes,
bleeding.
we were- it was
bleeding
confusing.
into all the,
Others.
Yes.
the quantities.
Exactly. So now
Yes.
you have it very clear in the sheet, together along with the site plan that was updated, and all the numbers are matching up now with together with the floor plans. So with that, I'm here to address any comments and concerns from the board. And I believe that it was sent for 239 already. Yes, I got the yesterday. Oh, Okay. Yeah, she told me.
But I forgot to email it.
Okay, but it's...
I mean, how could I, today I got it. Yesterday, God, it was so long ago, the hours I worked this morning.
Local determination.
Yes,
And
I'll email it out in the morning.
okay. So the next thing I believe that was discussed last month, that was to schedule a public hearing for the next meeting.
They agree.
If they, yeah.
I did get the 239 back, and it was local determination. I just forgot to email it out this morning. I guess I got it because yesterday we didn't work.
Say that again, Noreen, what was that?
So it had to go out for GML review for the 239. I sent it out, I got the letter back, and it came back as local determination.
And I appreciate you giving us because we asked for the floor plan of what you wanted to do, so that was helpful. I don't know if any board members looked at it. It looked, from what I saw, it looked pretty cut and dry. I didn't see anything jump out of normal on that. So that kind of helped me as I looked at it, see it with a clearer eye. Waiting here, I just want to go over that table with how you made a little headway in helping us out. Yeah, that's good.
Go ahead.
So with the new chart that you have here, you're showing us that what you first were looking for. Does it show here where you went in your original submittal to where we are now? And then the concessions that you might have made?
You see it on the maximum lot coverage. That's existing is, the required is 15%, existing is 29%, and that's the way it was last month. And proposed now is 26%. So you can see on the, all the way the percentage of the variance, the existing condition will be like a 93% variance. Now with the reduction, it's just a 73% variance.
It's currently at 29%.
Currently at 29%, yes. So removing that concrete slab made it as 26%.
All right, so in total, you need the lot area, which is a pre-existing condition, the lot width, which is a pre-existing condition, the front yard, also pre-existing condition, and you're not changing that, right?
Right.
Side yard, that's one on the right side that, I didn't jot down. Are you changing that, or that's
Oh,
staying the same?
that's existing, pre-existing
That's
condition.
too? Okay, and you're not making that worse.
But you're
The
making it
total
less.
side yard, are you actually reducing the side yard?
He's making it less.
Not,
The
not,
right side or the total?
not on the right side.
Yeah, right side's staying the same. The total,
Oh, okay.
you're reducing the degree of nonconformity by 3 feet.
Because I'm reducing the left, that's at the bottom.
Got it.
Yeah,
So you need a variance, but it's less than what's there right now by 3 feet on the total.
correct.
And on the rear, same thing, you have a 38 existing, and you're reducing that by a foot to 37.
Correct.
And then lot coverage, you're bringing it down from
Opposite
29 to
way.
26 by removing the, it's a shed, you said, or what do we call it?
Concrete slab,
Slab of the foundation
Previous.
of.
a foundation or something, yeah.
Okay, so
And
This is
that-
not on for a public hearing, we're on to just get the new
Get the-
data
yeah, right.
and then put it on for a public hearing if all looks,
That is
Good.
correct.
Right, and he's come here, answered the questions and brought the extra documents that we asked him to do from last week, so we have a clearer picture of the project. If any of the board members has any questions on, I think Dave just did a thorough job going through all of that, but any other questions on the floor plan?
No.
Is anything stick out there that someone might have missed?
I don't have a question on the floor plan, but I do have a question with regards to the left side.
On the side yards?
Looking on the chart or on the site plan?
Site plan.
Okay. What is the question?
I don't see the left side listed on your chart here. It looks as if there is a variance. It
It's-
looks,
Yeah, it's on
Unless
the
I'm
last, the last line on the chart. If you take the chart, it's the last line.
Oh, I see.
It was,
I
the
see.
problem was on the pre-filled form that was listing just one side, so I have to add the second side, so add it at the bottom.
Yeah, all the way down bottom there.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
And on the site plan, it's also, on the site plan sheet, you can see it on the table. Okay.
Yeah, if there's no other questions or comments, I think we can maybe make a motion or make a move to a public hearing.
I make a motion to, we're the 28th?
28th, yes.
Make a motion to move this to a public hearing on June 28th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you for getting this stuff. It
Try
helped
the
a lot.
best. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Verizon. Evening.
Moving on, new project, Homeland Towers and Verizon. How you doing tonight? Living a dream, man. Living a dream. That's right.
For the record, my name is David Kenny. I'm an attorney with Snyder & Snyder. I'm here tonight to represent the applicant Homeland Towers and Verizon Wireless. The application is to construct a wireless telecommunications facility consisting of a 100-foot monopole to support the equipment for Verizon Wireless. It has a need for service in this area. It has surrounding sites that are at capacity or beyond capacity. It also has an additional need to enhance coverage in this area. So we've found a property that we feel like is an ideal candidate to provide this public utility infrastructure and to provide the service needs. We have with me tonight Vincent Xavier from Homeland Towers. If he would like to, just say a couple words to the board.
So as he said, good evening. I'm Vincent Xavier. I'm the regional manager for Homeland Towers.
Sorry, could you,
Vincent Xavier, Xavier. I'm responsible for the project. I was responsible for vetting it and bringing this application forward, so I'll be at all the meetings to answer any questions directly, besides any experts that we have come in as well. As our attorney said, we do think this is an ideal site. I think as we progress this application, not only will we be able to show that we're not able to locate in your current overlay zones, that besides that, this is just the best property to meet the needs of this community in that it will be the least intrusive based on the size of the property, the setbacks, the existing vegetative screening, and the fact that we worked with Verizon RF to really ensure that we're proposing the lowest tower possible. And, we look forward to offering to conduct a balloon float to really ascertain the visibility of the project, and I'm confident that, or I'm hoping that you'll agree with me that this really is the best location and that the site is needed.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. With all this, going through this, and I was talking with Dave earlier, I think this would have to go, we'd have to get some expert console on this, or?
Yeah, so for those of you, I think we've had one or two cell tower applications in the last couple of years. To refresh your memory, it's an application for a use variance. The traditional use variance criteria does not apply because it's a utility, and there's a standard governed by a case called Rosenberg that gets applied, and plus some federal law that also applies. But basically, it's up to the applicant to show and demonstrate to you that they have a need for the facility. There's a deficit in capacity or a deficit in, or a gap in coverage, that this tower will solve both of those needs, or either one or both of the needs, and that it's also the least intrusive option. So it's incumbent upon them to show an alternatives analysis to say, look, are there any other alternatives, alternative locations? There's some disagreement, I think, in the case law as to whether those alternatives need to be in the overlay districts where they are permitted. Certainly, that would be one thing that they would need to show, and I'm imagining that they'll probably easily solve that because there's not that many overlay districts. But then the next question that the board went through with I think both of the prior recent applications is whether there's any other spot, any other locations that are less intrusive to the zoning scheme. So what I would suggest that you do, I've not had an opportunity to see the application yet. I think on both prior applications, you've engaged an expert RF engineer to help you through all the applicable issues. I think I highly recommend that you do that again here. Cityscape is one that you've used twice now successfully. They've proven themselves to be very, very capable. Boy, I'm blanking on his last name, Rick. Rick Edwards unfortunately passed away. He was the founder of Cityscape, but he's got other colleagues there that certainly can also help you. So what I would do, I would suggest that you undertake a motion tonight to, I've not yet reached out to them to get any kind of pricing, but I know they're reasonable and they're within the usual and customary rates. Would the applicant have any objection to us reaching out and just going ahead and saying, hey, look, let's engage Cityscape? Or would the applicant like to have the opportunity to say, look, let's get Cityscape, let's take a look at their fee structure and then have the opportunity to weigh in on whether it's appropriate?
We have no objection to the board choosing its consultant of its choice. We just ask that all costs charged to the applicant be reasonable and necessary.
Right, okay. So in that regard, in order to get moving, because I'm not sure if when the application came in or if there's anything further, the first thing we'd like to do is get them started on a completeness review. Is there anything that we need in order for the application to be deemed complete? And we'd like them to get started on that ASAP so that if there is anything needed, we can let the applicant know, they can get it in right away, and the board can satisfy its obligations to move forward in an expeditious manner on this. So,
Dave, with regards to the expeditious manner, if my memory serves me correctly, we had 6 days. Was that?
Where does that shot clock start? Today?
I'll ask the applicant, what's your position on the shot clock here? I'm not sure when things were submitted or what, but give the board your view on it, please.
We filed the application on April 19th. There was, for these types of facilities, which is a new tower, the board and the whole town actually has 150 days to review this application. So a co-location application that's on a rooftop or an existing structure, that might come with a 90-day.
I got you.
That'll come with a 90-day. For a new tower, the town has 150 days to review the application.
If I could just add to that, as the actual developer, I hate when that comes up, especially at the first meeting, because, these are difficult, complicated applications. We understand Cityscape's going to be involved, but last time we can't control the timing. I don't want the shot clock to be the issue that we're fighting against. It's 150 days.
Well,
No,
Yeah.
it won't. It's just,
No, I mean, I'm not going to be pushing you. I want to work with you. We'll respond. As long as things progress reasonably, I hope that we don't ever have
we
to
just
talk
want to
about the shot
know
clock.
what the time frame is.
Yeah.
I think we've had them extended in the past.
Yes.
I mean, so the shot clock is just more of we're asking about it because we just want to know.
Well, yeah,
You're lucky because we've dealt with doing these several times now. That's why we're kind of asking about, when does this all start?
Yeah, absolutely, as my client just stated, if we happen to run close to the end date of that expiration of the shot clock, but we feel that the application is progressing, Homeland has in the past extended the shot clocks. I don't see if the application is progressing, there would be a reason not to do so here.
What's the status? You might have mentioned it earlier, and I apologize. In regard to planning board, have you been there, or did you come here first? Did you start there and then come here, and then you're waiting there until you're done here, or something else?
So we came here first. We first filed an application with Mr. Maldonado, and he told us to go ahead and come to the zoning board first to get the variances, and then to go to the planning board for site plan. So that would be kind of where my next focus was going. Would this board feel to declare itself lead agency for the purposes of a coordinated review under SECRA?
I guess that's one of the main reasons I was asking is SECRA. Zoning boards traditionally don't like to do SECRA. If planning boards are set up to do SECRA, if it's an illicit or a type 1 action. I can't remember what we did with the first two, whether we dealt with it or whether we were lead agency or whether whether the planning board had already been involved first. Does anybody remember?
I think the one on the roof, the planning board was involved. I can't speak of the first one.
I'm pretty
I can't
sure we
speak
were
to
the
that.
lead on the first one. When it was on the water tower. I'm pretty sure we were, but I can't
Yeah, I
say
think
that
you're-
100%.
I'd have to go back to the
Yeah,
minutes.
we'd have to go
because
back.
don't
I don't
remember.
want to answer that, but I think we were.
I think you're right. So, I don't know, to be continued on that. My thought is, why don't we get started right away, at the very least, getting this application, the full set, over to Cityscape. Let's put it on the agenda for the next meeting with the view towards hopefully having some preliminary feedback from Cityscape, in regard to completeness, and then with the hope and expectation that everything is looking good, and at the next meeting, we can then schedule it for a
It's
public
reasonable
hearing.
to say that we should have Cityscape's results by the next meeting?
I wouldn't say necessarily full
But
review.
an idea of what's going on.
Certainly, at least in regard to completeness and, lines of inquiry and
Yeah.
so on. At least we'll get them started, and we'll be walking
And-
down a path with the applicant, one way or the other.
I know you'll have Cityscape review this, but it was brought up before about why we're outside of the utility overlay district. It's because the area in need is physically too far away from any of the or the overhead utility districts. So that's literally why we're over where we're located at, outside of the, where it's permitted use, is just we couldn't physically locate it in any of those district
Where is the
properties.
area of need?
So the area of need is, we have a map it's right in the kind of area of the town where we have these. It's right near to the border of Bloom and Grove. We have submitted with our application a radio frequency justification report from Verizon, and there's a red circle in there that's called a search radius.
Right.
That's basically everything inside there is where we have the need.
And just to follow up on that, within that document, specifically page 17, you'll see a map showing the existing coverage in the area is 700 megahertz. On that map, you'll see blue circles. Those show the existing overlay zones, and you'll see that Verizon's actually already in them and still suffering this issue. So if you're asking where those overlay zones are, it is on those maps as well.
And just real quick, I have not seen the map or looked at the zoning on it. So what district is this in?
RR1.
What's the nature of the property that it's on? Is it on
Yeah, it's currently a residential.
Right.
Is there an existing utility road or something for that?
There's no utility.
No,
There's like an
there's not.
existing pathway through there. That's one of the reasons we chose this
Make sure
location
you
of the
stay.
property. One of the reasons we chose this location of the property is because there is an existing pathway back there. I wouldn't really call it meant for vehicles right now, but the
Right.
existing pathway does exist, allowing us to minimize tree removal. And by putting us in this location of the property, it maximizes setbacks and maintains that aesthetic buffering from the existing vegetation.
One of our proposals is to improve an access drive to the facility.
Yeah.
with the existing
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but at this point, is this moving forward of who should be the lead agent, planning or zoning? Is that something we should discuss now? Just so we're, not just doing things and then later on we decide, because, just even listen to everything you have, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to go through
Not everything.
the building inspector's comments. Yes, so that, there's, where he has issues with the zoning, right, where you're putting this. So, I just don't know if now's the time to set that the planning board should be the lead agency, because, as I read the comments from the inspector, it lends some serious questions for myself.
Yeah, I mean, again, the ones that you've been dealing with in the past, well, you had the one that was the very, I'll say difficult one, more difficult than the second one, where it wasn't so much, it didn't seem like there was too many siting issues. It was going to be on that one little parcel, and the only question was it going to be on a pole, or was it going to be on the tower, or was there a number of other, alternative locations on other parcels? Right, but the planning issues themselves didn't really dominate that application, to my memory. It was more the siting issue, it was more the issues that are relevant to other feasible alternatives, and was it the least intrusive, property and spot and means.
But did the planning not dominate it, because so the second one was on top of an existing building, office building, right off of 208 there? So
Same thing.
there's not much that
Pretty
they
much
have
the
to get
same.
involved
It was
with.
very, yeah.
Right, it was just a matter of, we're going to put the tower where you can't see it coming off the ramp and things of
what I
that
remember.
nature. So,
and nobody lived there either.
right, yeah, so
Right.
I can see the planning, but this is a completely different animal as I look through it, and I look at the maps and everything that you sent in, and couple that with the comments from the building inspector. I just don't know.
Yeah, and like the idea of, you have that long access road, it seems like, there's a number of different things from a planning perspective
Right.
and a siting perspective on the site. Just from the little bit that I've heard, that it's something those issues are far more in the ballywick of the planning board to deal with those siting issues. And they're going to kind of go hand in hand with what you're doing, but they're more set up to deal with those sorts of issues. So it may be that it's advisable for the applicant to go ahead and get an application in and go at least meet the planning board and be moving on a parallel track.
Right. Doesn't
as well.
stop us from doing
Yeah,
what
it doesn't
we're
stop
doing.
us at
Yeah.
all.
That was exactly my thought, and I asked Mr. Maldonado if that's what we should proceed in doing, especially considering that most often planning boards are lead agencies when you have a dual board review. He was fairly explicit when he said, nope, you have to go to the zoning board first, you have to get your variance first, and only after you get your variance can you go get a site plan. I'm not sure if maybe another conversation can be had with him, and maybe that'll ease it up, but that was,
Yeah.
I asked the question exactly that, because I knew this
That's
would be
odd.
coming. and
Well,
he
it's
was
not
very
necessarily
explicit.
inconsistent. I mean, it could be some miscommunication to some extent in that regard. I'm going to, put it that way, because conceptually, he's right, generally, right? Like, you can't get site plan unless you're going to get, the use variance. So conceptually, yeah, he's right. You got to get the use variance, and then you can get the site plan. It doesn't mean, in my view, maybe this is where I might disagree with him, or maybe, we're just, you guys were talking on different, about different things. That doesn't mean you can't be working on both at the same time. It probably is advisable, given, again, I can't really, I don't have the map in front of me, but it seems like there's going to be, are there site-specific it sounds like what you're saying, there's some site-specific planning issues that are going to go along with this, in addition to the use variance, utility use variance criteria. Am I right, or am I adding down the wrong
we
line?
are located in the Ridgeline Protection Overlay District as well as being in a residential district, so I'm certain the planning board is going to have their say on this application,
Yeah.
and we'll have to go through some of that stops. It's just explicitly says, need site plan and planning board approval only after first obtaining ZBA approval, and this is from the notes from Mr. Maldonado and his denial that we submitted
Yeah.
with our.
You know, I see that.
And then when I called him and asked him, well, should we still file with the planning board so that they can do secret, he just said, no, you have to go to the zoning board first,
I understand.
so.
So maybe I can talk to Ben and get some clarity on what his thoughts were on that. Again, you've heard my thoughts. My thoughts are, given the issues and given a shot clock, it kind of makes sense, in my view, to move parallel instead of finish one and then the other, particularly with the overlapping secret. Like, we don't want to do secret here and then bind the planning board and have the planning board just comment like an involved agency, but you're not even before them yet. They don't even know anything about it. They don't know anything about the siting issues, and now this board is involved in siting issues where it's not comfortable. So I can talk to Ben about that.
Want to move
So
efficiently.
why don't we think about that? I'll talk to Ben, and I can communicate with you. In that regard, you can call me, or you can communicate with Noreen. And in the meantime, at the very least, we won't deal with secret tonight. We don't have to talk about who's
Right.
going to be lead agency or not
Right.
yet. But that's an issue to be determined. And we'll get Cityscape started, and we'll come back next meeting. Maybe we'll have this issue resolved with whether you should be also proceeding to the planning board. And at the very least, Cityscape will be, starting to work.
If there's any, it sounds like from the board, they would want us to go to the planning board, so maybe if you can just get me an opinion or an okay from Inspector Maldonado, we're happy to proceed with that. I think we want to get before the planning board as fast as possible if that's going to be the direction.
Yeah, so I'll try to get to him this week and just chat with him, see if he's got some thoughts, see if I can understand what his thought process is first, and we'll work that out, and we'll communicate the result of that to you guys.
And, I agree, and I think the way even the determination was written, just because it says you need to get the ZBA's approval first, doesn't mean we can't meet with the planning board as well. Plus, as I mentioned earlier with the balloon float, if I'm going to fly the balloon, I want to make sure the planning board is aware of that too, that they're a party to it, confirming any potential viewpoints that you're concerned about, and that we can all have an agreeable date. So I appreciate anything you do. Allow us to file with them and have a meeting. I don't know when their next one is in June, if it would be before yours on the 28th. But regardless, no?
I'm the secretary for the planning board as well.
Do they meet once a month or twice?
They meet twice a month, but their submission date was last week.
That's okay.
So their next submission date would be, I don't have their calendar in front of me. I only have ZBAs up here. Yeah, I'll email you the information, but it looks like, because they have their scheduled plan for June, it would be their July meeting, which would be July 14th. That would be June 30th. Yeah,
If all that works out, we come back, we talk to you on the 28th, we receive your direction. I'm going to prepare to make the application to the planning board anyway.
right.
So hopefully we'll be able to file that immediately after the next meeting, talk about the balloon float, schedule that.
Considering the hiring of the expert, would that be also something that the planning board would retain? We wouldn't want to have two different experts kind of reviewing the same application. Could that be coordinated?
Yeah, in the prior applications, the planning board has used Cityscape as well for the planning issues. So I think what we've done is we have two separate retainers and two separate scopes of work, and handled it that way, even with the same company, but at least there's two scopes.
I'll send the application over to Anthony tomorrow.
Yeah, and I guess I just want to handle it because I want to make sure, since I haven't solicited it and I haven't seen, maybe what we do is we entertain a motion to engage them, so long as the financial terms are the equivalent of what they've charged in the past. It's probably not the best way to do it, but it's the best way to get it done expeditiously.
Still moving,
Rather
still
than
moving
lose a
forward.
month where I've got to go get it and then come back and then
Right.
we haven't done anything. And if the applicant is okay with that, I think Verizon was involved in at least one of the prior applications, if not both.
Last one.
And, if the equivalent financial terms, we can, vote to engage them. And if the terms are not going to be equivalent, then we'll come back and I'll report that and we'll address it, and we won't engage them until the next meeting, until you have a chance to talk about it. Motion would be, for me, so what's the motion?
The motion
idea.
is,
How do I reduce it to a motion?
the motion is to engage Cityscape in,
Yeah, here it is. It's to authorize me to solicit Cityscape, and if to provide a proposal, and if the proposal is in line with
Previous.
with the two prior engagements by this board, to authorize the chairman or acting chair to sign and engage Cityscape for this project.
you started to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher there. Blah,
Just say, I move
blah,
for that.
blah, 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 blah.
You adopt council's,
Wow, yes, crystal clear, whatever Dave said.
there's a motion for
I'll
whatever I
second
just
that.
said.
Who's making that motion? Chip?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll
second.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to just take it's hard to look at these maps at our table.
Next time we'll bring,
fold them back up.
we'll bring a flash drive, see if we can put it up there. That might be
Yeah.
better.
You have it in
Yeah,
that
we
whole
ha-
big
we ha-
bundle, just
we
not
have
an
'em.
email.
How about here?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I have to give him one with him. And I'll get you
got it
another.
all right up
Okay, I'll give you the spare one next month you can put in your files.
So, do we have that whole application
We have the
electronically?
whole packet.
So, you'll get that out to.
I'll send them to Cityscape. Well, you contact them, and then once you're okay with it, tell me to mail it, and I'll
Okay.
email it to them right away.
Okay, you know what, I'm gonna send, while I'm thinking of it, because I'm gonna be crazy.
So the kids would like to leave. 4 minutes and we'll be done. We have to do minutes.
They're like, what's going on? I gotta get out of here.
They want to leave.
Who am I?
There's a young man and a young woman that came in late. If you have your forms, I need you to bring them forward, please. I'm not going to dock them. I don't care.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
See you next
Good
month.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, and it was Anthony, right?
You have your
Yeah,
form?
no, exactly.
We learned some.
Yeah, the
Okay,
shot clock. Yeah. Yeah.
all right, so if you can sign his notes,
There you go.
he wasn't given a form. You have the form for me?
This is
Okay,
your-
if you want to hand
I'll
it
just
to
sign
the.
your notes.
Yeah, he doesn't have the form. Here's an agenda for you.
And they're required to go to a governmental meeting. Yeah.
So are you all in the same class?
I assume it's high school,
It looks like it.
or middle school.
Because I made you a cheat
Did you
sheet,
find
but
that
I don't want to
riveting?
make 20 copies.
No, they were
of
riveting,
one.
pretty
Yeah.
exciting stuff, huh?
One of you.
Time well spent?
I
Yeah,
thought there was
I'm
something else
just-
going on here.
Oh.
Like,
Oh, he left without his agenda. Okay, so in case you didn't get all this is the acting chairman, is Chip.
Thank you.
The other board members.
Thanks very much.
That's the attorney's name, that's me. That's who was on the project in case it was hard to call. Thank you so much. And that one gentleman got away without an agenda. Thank you. So much. You're welcome. Oh, all your forms are here too. You can all have these back. They've been signed by the chairman. They don't need to stay.
You guys
for
don't
a
want to
minute.
hear us go
No,
over
no,
the
you
minutes?
no. No, no.
They have enough government stuff in school.
Are you guys in 11th grade?
Make believe we read it.
Seniors?
And they wait to the last
Seniors.
meeting of the year to attend.
Wait a second. Seniors, and you're still working on May 31st?
Yeah,
That's
wow.
impressive.
yeah, that's.
This is, what is this, detention?
Yeah.
Or
What did-
you
what did
guys
you do?
just, you guys procrastinated.
Yeah, yeah.
And realized, oh crap, I gotta get this done. I think
Sorry?
it's choice two.
They got their forms back that he just signed for you?
They didn't take it.
And then I gave them a
That's why I'm
cheat
sitting
sheet
in the
that gives you
CBA
the list of
meeting
everybody, the board members with the
Instead of
right
something
spellings and stuff. I only gave one sheet, so just get with them and you
Kind
just
of what
copy
happened
it
to
down
me in
from
my
them.
continuing ed classes. I procrastinate and end up getting a crap class.
So has anybody read any of the minutes that we have holding out, or are we like holding them off again? I don't, they're out on the website, so it's up to you guys.
Oh.
We have
I didn't read
January,
them.
February, and March. April it was not finished.
I did not read them.
I did not.
Okay, so we're holding minutes till next month?
Okay.
But we do need to get them read and done.
I know we do.
I'll read them by the next one.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, motion to end the meeting?
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 You guys are lucky.
They
This is
are.
one of the shortest meetings we've ever had.
I'd have to say
By
this,
far.